Hello and welcome to the Good Byte. My name is Dr Ron Ehrlich, and today I am joined by my good friend Aaron Mckenzie. Aaron, welcome.
Hey Ron, how are you?
I'm well. What an interesting question to be asking people nowadays. Whenever it's a throwaway line in the past. How are you? And now it's a really serious question.
I'm answering now.
Yeah, it's a really serious question. Tell me what's been happening in your life. What have you been doing? You've been doing so many amazing things. But tell us, share it with our listeners.
Well, I guess it's just, obviously running a gym and a training studio, and that being my primary source of income and way of connecting with people and doing what I do, having that, stopped is a big shift, and for good reason. Obviously, we're all in this situation together. And then just trying to figure out, well, what can I do every day? I think it's easy for us to focus on what we can't do and get caught up in that and get caught watching the news every day and just waiting for something external to give us the okay that everything's going to be all right. But my mind just won't let me do that. It's okay. I've got to be proactive. What can I do myself? What have I got within my control to make a difference? And how can I control my own variables? So, it's getting healthy myself is primary, but then trying to teach other people to have that perspective and focus on themselves and use this as an opportunity to reset, to say, okay, things have been, going along okay, but we can do it better. And this is just a wake-up call to say, let's get healthier. Let's get more connected to our food supply. Let's look after our bodies. Let's connect with the people that we love. And let's slow down a bit. Let's do more, work from home and just spend more time eating good food, not racing around, less time commuting. I think there's just so many positives, and no one is going to say that, what's happening is okay. It's awful. What's happening in hospitals, this whole situation is awful. But the fact that the whole world has just stopped is just proving that we can do this. We can make choices and we can make a better world. We can enjoy this life more, and we can help people get healthier. We can do all of that. It's within our control. And it shouldn't have taken something this bad for us to realize. But I think all of us are starting to understand now that this was quite, not as bad as it could have been. It could have been much worse. It could have been something just as contagious, but also very aggressive.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, we'd really be stuck, because it's still already challenged to keep up with it.
Yeah. Some horrendous statistics coming out from overseas. But, it's interesting because I kind of have felt, if you thought of the most optimistic environmental scientist in the world,
yes,
who has been talking about reducing carbon emissions and how important that was, I don't think even the most optimistic scientist could have ever imagined the Earth was going to get this kind of rest. It's just incredible to think that, I love that. I saw a meme.
It is amazing.
Yeah, I posted on my Instagram that I saw this meme which said, Mother Nature has sent us to our room to think about what we've done. And I added to that, we're all going to come out of that room different. There is no question. The question is, will Mother Nature be happy with what we've decided? Yeah. And, while I'm kind of also a bit of an optimist as well, that while the world is healing, I think this is an incredible opportunity to think about what kind of changes we want to incorporate, what we learn from this experience, and actually an opportunity to get healthy. I mean, you've got the opportunity to sleep now if you can. I know I tend to wake up a little bit in the middle of the night and wonder whether I'm part of a science fiction movie or not. But generally, I'm not sleeping too badly. I'm certainly getting enough sleep. I always make that a priority. But it's just a case of slowing down. It's just slowing down. That's been the biggest thing for me. I've just really slowed down.
Yeah, I found the same. I mean, I've gotten up for the last 20 years at 5:30 in the morning to teach, people, to train people at 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday for 20 years. And, now I can get up at 6:30. It's
wow, big sleep in. Well, as the first time you and I met, and the first time we worked out together. I wish I could say we worked. The first time you supervised me working out, let's put it that way, was around, I've thought about it today because I knew we were talking, it was 2006, and you were in your apartment where your gym was.
Yep.
You ran your classes and your workshops from there.
Yep.
And honestly, so now we're 14 years down the track. I got into a bad habit with you. I got up at 5:30 in the morning to get to that 6 o'clock class, and I'd stayed with me ever since.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and we're going to do a workout. We're going to do a workout tomorrow together. Wow, I'm just.
Can't wait, right? It's going to be awesome, and do it live and share it with everyone. And my big thing with what I'm doing now, I just made the decision because I had a lot of clients who are struggling with this situation. Obviously, a lot of people economically, their businesses, they're finished or they've lost their jobs and they want to keep moving. And my initial thought was, okay, well, how can I do something to help these people that will help other people at the same time? Because they're not the only ones. Yeah. So I thought, okay, well, I just start doing what I do, which I've been doing for 20 years, and I just make it live and make it free and make it available on Facebook and YouTube every day so people can get this habit Monday to Saturday, do this workout with me, and I'll train with them and share that experience. And if they're stuck at home and they're just figuring out, well, what can I do with the time that I have? And my big thing is just create a routine every day. Get good sleep every night, have 2 good sit-down meals with the family every day, do 60 minutes of exercise, and then use the time in the day to obviously be grateful to be alive and be connecting with your family and all of those things. But to transition into a new career or a new business that's one for the new world that we're going into. And if the business you had before, the career you had before, now's the time to start that business that you were scared to start because you got some time. And I'm just trying to just motivate, inspire people to go into either health coaching or into this whole farm to table supply chain. Those 2 things I feel are the most important things that each of us can get involved in right now. And that may be just supporting good growers and buying food for an end to cook at home. And it may be just getting healthy yourself so that people around you are inspired by that. But it may be going into becoming an online coach. It may be going into becoming a delivery driver for a good farm to get it to people, because people can't get food now and they're a bit scared to go out. And if you were ever considering, because I've been on the fence about going online, for a while, because I've got a good face-to-face business I've had for a long time. And this is like the biggest kick in my pants to say, make it happen. And if you can't make it happen now with all that demand out there,
we have got a captive audience. We know that.
This is the time. For all coaches, anyone that's ever had an inkling of becoming a coach and inspiring or starting an online business or starting a YouTube channel, something, now's the time to inspire the masses, because you and me can't do it for 8 billion people. We can try, we can do our best, but, certain people will respond to me, certain people will respond to you, and we just need more help. And now's the time, and if you can create something, you only have to have X amount of clients with a small amount of coming in from those people. And you've got a decent business model. And it may be that you are just going into that supply chain from farm to table and you're helping farmers, or you decide, okay, I'm going to do it. My business is gone. It's no longer going to be coming back because of the way the world's changed. And now I can get that farm I dreamed of, or whatever it is, and just get involved somehow. I just see those as maybe that seems a little bit distant for some people still, but this just seems like the opportunity for people to get involved in what the real solutions are, because that, to me, good food, movement, family, connection, slowing down, not traveling all over the planet, flying everywhere, these are beautiful things.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting because for the last 40 or so years, we've been encouraged to be good consumers. The health of an economy is always, the health of a society is always measured by the health of the economy. Are we producing? Is consumer confidence there? What are the retail prices? What are retail sales? What are the returns? Da 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 da. I mean, I remember a time before, we didn't get in every news cycle the Dow Jones. I used to think Dow Jones was David Jones's younger brother. When I first heard it, or I used to think I thought the FTSE 500 was a dance until I realised it was the British stock market. And now every single day we're supposed to be tuned into what the stock market's doing.
And it's all just it's numbers on a page. It's
Well, I think
it's just it's a concept,
yeah.
and it's market speculation. It's thrown like these numbers are just changing so rapidly. But if you think about it, well, the world's besides people being inside, the resources are still there.
Yeah.
So
well, I've heard that in Australia we actually produce enough food to feed 75 million people. So we're not going to go hungry, that's for sure.
So it's a big issue.
We've kind of been encouraged to be good consumers. We haven't really been encouraged to be good citizens. And I think that, I think there are some basic issues, and the issues are, do you have a roof over your head? That's a real issue. Will you have food on the table next tomorrow or next week? That's a real issue. And are you healthy? That's a real issue. And hopefully you have a job when all of this finishes.
Yeah.
But it is an opportunity to focus on being a good citizen. And being a good citizen, we kind of consume this seemingly cheap food and consume these seemingly cheap commodities. But when we start to factor in the cost of what's going on now, none of that is cheap.
I mean, America's, on in a center stage, and mass consumers of bad foods, and they're getting smashed by this, and it's awful, but it's such a wake-up call.
And it's also interesting that we've, trying to shut down all these government services, and we don't need government. And as soon as something wrong happens, it's for government to step in. So we need to. But listen, I wanted to ask you. I know you're doing, 2 meals a day. That rolled off your tongue very easily. Just share with us what your protocols are, because I know you're going carnivore too.
Yeah, I did that. I've done the full hardcore 8 months. Just lamb and beef, nothing else, and it was amazing, Ron. I was still questioning it, and even when I first heard about it a couple of years ago, when I really thought about it, I thought it's a bit crazy, it's a bit much. We still need plants, we still need. And the more I got into it, and the better I felt, and it did so much for me in terms of my health, and it challenged all those ideas. That we need X amount of vegetables, and obviously you and me, we don't have any vegetable oils or grain and seed oils, and we're away from the processed food, so we're doing better than most people with that. But there's still this kind of thing about plants being really healthy for people, and I'm not denying that those things aren't there, but they're a double-edged sword. And all the traditional methods of food preparation the culinary arts are a method of making plants more digestible. And all those efforts have been, lately in the last, since the Industrial Revolution, whatever, we're just trying to speed everything up, and we're ignoring a lot of those things that we know from Weston A. Price and Weston A. Price Foundation and what they promote, soaking, sprouting, fermenting, slow cooking, all these things that allow things to become digestible, especially when it comes to plants. And once you start looking at lectins, you look at phytates, you look at salicylates, histamines, oxalates. FODMAPs,
oxalates.
Man,
it's bloody dangerous. I mean, vegetables are dangerous.
And the thing is, and it got me, and I've been, as you know, I've been fairly healthy and someone that's lived a fairly healthy life. I've pushed myself a bit hard physically training and, kind of had that approach of trying to make my body more muscular and was addicted and was just attached to that for a long time. And I let that go. So my weight's around, 80 kilos. I'm strong, I'm healthy, lean. But that drive to overeat or whatever probably did some damage. And I ended up with an autoimmune condition. And it's, and I think I'm very conscious of my health, and I've still got that. And then if you look around and look at the masses, it's scary because most people just think, they're just getting old and there's nothing they can do. So about 3 years ago, I started to get psoriasis around here and up in my eyebrows and all of that. And then I thought, okay, well, what can I do about this? So I'm going through, okay, take out the FODMAPs, okay, rebuild the gut microbiota, take out, excess histamines, take out oxalates. And I did the whole autoimmune paleo protocol. I tried all of those things and it improved without a doubt. Definitely helped. But it wasn't until I went, and even I did carnivore the first time, probably about a year and a half ago. And when I did that, I kept chicken, I kept pork, and I was having eggs, and I was still eating all different. And I had a little bit, I had butter, I had ghee, had a bit of dairy, and I was kind of doing everything. And it wasn't until I went strict with just ruminants, just beef and lamb, that the switch occurred. And I was doing, all I did, my experiment was I just got half a body of beef. Dom got it for me. Ethical Farmers, awesome.
Yep.
And
we'll have links to Ethical Farmers and awesome.
Amazing, the work he's doing. And so I got myself a chest freezer. I got all my stainless steel containers, and I wanted to find the optimal way to fuel myself, nourish myself, and support the environment. So I got, I can get a quarter body of beef in my chest freezer in the stainless steel containers. I got it at that point. Now it's gone up in price, but it was $12.50 a kilo. Wow. And I lived off 800 grams of meat, including organs and fat, per day for 8 months. And it was probably a little bit less because I was having less than what I would optimally have. But I just wanted to stick to it and see what happened. So 2 400-gram meals a day, including all the fat, all the organs, the bones, everything, making bone broth once a week and doing that. And having all the, testicles, liver, heart, spleen, all the organs. I was able to get all the lamb organs, brain, and just having that much per day, twice a day, and just wanted to see what's going to happen. And I did my blood work before and after, and all my blood work improved. The only thing which I made a video on, which people can watch, is on my cholesterol, which went through the roof. But there's, you and I both know there's a lot of deeper truths to that and the situation. I've got my coronary artery calcium score done, which was 0, so there's 0 calcium.
No, I won't share my one with you.
Well, you indulge a little bit more than I have in the last 20 years.
I think that 40 or 50 years, but never mind.
A couple of drinks at the dinner table, but and I've got 0 there, even though I've had a very high saturated fat diet, 20 plus years. So my body's very healthy. But then doing this, all my inflammatory markers, everything just improved.
Wow.
Which was, not that they were high, they weren't out of control with this autoimmune condition. I think because I've been so healthy, it's just keeping it under control. And now I've discovered, because of this corona thing, I started making bone broth a lot more and having it every day. And then I figured out that the histamines are an issue for me. Because I had this relief, 6 months of no symptoms, no psoriasis, and then all of a sudden coming back, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a stress, maybe it's a situation. And then I put it together and I figured out, well, I'm just having a lot more bone broth and slow cooked meats and things like that. So now I'm ordered my pressure cooker. It should come today, so I'm going to switch over to that and experiment with that and see if taking the histamines down improves it all. But
so the slower cooking, the slow cooking releases more histamines.
Or you create more histamines because of the time factor. Because I do these long slow cooks. I use a slow cooker, which is great for 99% of people that don't have a condition like mine. It's heaven, and it was heaven for me as long as I kept it within a tolerable amount. So I'll get something, take it out of the freezer, put it in the slow cooker, and the next day at lunch, it's perfect. Have this beautiful meal, and then I save up my bones in the freezer, and then I just put them in there, and then I do a 24 to 48 hour broth. Just add half a cup of vinegar in there and water, no salt, so that way I get a bit of pull on the bones, and this makes amazing broth. But the problem is that time, that time that the histamines have been able to form or being created. So that was hitting me. So now I've just, the pressure cooker is great because you can do the same type of slow cooking or get the same result as a slow cook in a quarter of the time or a third of the time. Right. So I'm excited to experiment with that and try that. So in terms of, I don't disagree with people eating chicken altogether. I just think the scale in which we're doing it.
It used to be a luxury thing, didn't it?
Totally. It's a once a week deal. People are eating it every day, and we've got 8 billion people on the planet, and I think we're around 60 billion chickens. Which is just stupid. There's no reason. And then of that 60 billion, X amount of egg layers, which I agree with egg layers because I think that's great, but not in the scale that we're consuming. And my grandparents, had the backyard chooks on the farm and fed them all the veggie scraps, and they have these amazing eggs, and that's great. But when we're ruining the earth, ruining ecosystems, just to make chickens and make eggs, to grow all this grain in a monoculture system that is just raping the earth and just putting all that carbon in the atmosphere. You can do a no-till kind of system, but not on a scale that we're doing. We can't get the same production. Yeah. So I think, even Joel Salatin, he gets his grains from somewhere else, and obviously he's pulling in more than it's going out, but it's still not the ideal. If we want to reverse it, we need to regenerate the planet. So we've got to think about what we're consuming. And chicken, I can't agree with.
Yeah. And pork?
Pork is the same thing. You look at the inputs, or the grain inputs, because they're omnivores. They're not herbivores. And they need that to have a healthy life. So I just don't think it's ethical to produce that much pork. I mean, let's look at it differently. I think it is more than possible. It's just, let's look at every household in the Western world. They're throwing out 2/3 of the food that they're buying.
Yeah.
Now that could be going to backyard chooks, could be going to the pigs, and it wouldn't be an issue.
Yes.
And if all that food as well, obviously it's coming from conventional farming. So it's hard. What's the optimal decision that if we all made, we can turn this thing around as quick as possible? And then what's the practical way in which we could do it to actually make a dent in this that people are going to go along with? But to me, the most optimal thing is backyard veggies. Had the fruit trees in the backyard, or just a community gardening plot on every block.
Yeah.
And you have the chickens there, have the pigs there, and they're eating all of our food scraps and all of our waste, and anything that we put, any veggie that a human doesn't want to eat because it's gone past its time or whatever, or we didn't pick it in time, that's food for them. Yeah. And it's awesome. And I'm even like the whole dairy thing, I just, obviously a certain amount of people tolerate it very well. And I used to be one of those people. If you remember, I was in that bodybuilding phase, 3 litres of raw milk every day.
Yes.
And I tolerated it very well. And maybe I did some damage from doing that, doing the 30 raw eggs a day. But I built mass and built my body up doing that.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, obviously a lot of people get an inflammatory condition from it. But also, that milk is for the cow. Obviously the breeds that we have, we've got domesticated breeds that make more milk than they can feed their calves. But there's still the whole model. It's not what we need. Like if you look at the optimal sunlight conversion into food, if we're taking that milk's better to feed young calves to grow them up to full size so we can eat the meat. It doesn't make sense for us mathematically.
Yeah.
As an ecological healing system to consume that much dairy. It's like chicken. It's not that we shouldn't consume it at all. It's just the volumes in which we're consuming milk and the milk products. I don't think they're a solution.
No. And the ruminants, cows and lamb, obviously, cattle and lamb, beef and lamb, whatever we call it, that is ecologically not only sustainable but regenerative.
Totally. And it's the perennial grasses. It's the fact that we're not having to till, we're not having to, all the things that we know, but it's seeing the bigger picture of how it all joins together and seeing how it relates to human food consumption, human health, and how does that all tie together? And and I'm just trying to figure out, what's the best life that I could live that can inspire others? And if I can inspire others to do it as well and make this like celebrity status to live this life. So I'm getting my meat from a farm that's pulling carbon in from the atmosphere while it's building topsoil, and I'm getting this amazing nutrient dense food and eating the whole animal. So that was my big thing. Like when I figured out that bone broth was an issue with histamines, it really upset me.
Yes.
And it upset me for a number of reasons, but the big thing for me is I'm nose to tail. So if I'm not going to make bone broth, what am I going to do with the bones? Yeah, I do put mine back in the soil anyway and compost them to grow veggies, but that's just such a waste to me. And I feel like I'm a failure as a human being if I can't consume that food anymore. But the pressure cooker, it's awesome. This is like, okay, now I can put the bones into the pressure cooker, not get the histamine, still get all the nutrients, add the acidic medium. So the vinegar is an issue normal vinegar is a bit more of an issue for histamines, but the apple cider vinegar is much better. So I can do that, and then I can still get the mineral pool. So rather than using the petrochemical-based supplements to get my minerals, which I still do, I still have magnesium, which I would love to phase out, but I've tried, and I've done the whole ruminant thing, and it was the only supplement that I kept through the whole time.
Really?
But if I supplement with the magnesium, I got cramps. and they're low carb cramps.
Hang on, if you didn't supplement with magnesium, you got cramps. Yeah. Is that the only supplement?
That's the only thing I took, that and salt, for the 8 months.
Right.
I took out everything else. And the reason I kept it was because, I had to function. I was really like suffering hardcore cramps, and there's a number of reasons. The one reason is obviously low carb. As soon as you're low carb, you're excreting your sodium and your minerals through that. So you need more to compensate initially until your body normalizes. So that was happening. And then the high fat thing, it does that as well. And then you're not getting any insulin, which retains that. And then you've got on top of that, we're eating the muscle meats, and I'm eating organs, but I'm not eating the blood of the animals. So you're not getting the minerals there. And we're not gnawing on bones and chewing on bones to get the minerals there. Plus, on top of that, even though Dom's doing the best that he can, Australian soils are deficient in the minerals that we need.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to, justify my use of the supplements, but I'm just saying, well, how can I transition? So my ultimate goal is to just do nose to tail, grow veggies, have some fruit that I eat seasonally that I grow myself, have the herbs in the garden, and do that model and have some backyard chooks, promote that. And I think that is, if the more people got into that and got inspired by that, and the only way I see it happening, the only way I can see the masses wanting that is for it to be something of a celebrity status, to say, I'm doing this. Look at me. This is where I'm at. I'm healthy.
Make it trendy to be healthy.
But so the carnivore thing, sorry, got off.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that's quite extreme. But on people say, oh, you think everyone should eat this way. Not at all. I did it for me because of my gut lining. There was something going on. It was causing this autoimmune condition where my body's own immune system is attacking my own cells. And with psoriasis, it's that those cells just turning over so quickly because you're hurting them, they flake off and new ones are coming through, so you get this redness and all of this. And it's been proven that psoriasis is an autoimmune condition now. So that was just coming, but that's just one expression of it. Some other people might have it, as depending on what's happening on the gut lining, they might get different things going on, and that was just mine. And I think I've got a neck condition, a joint condition, had inflammation around that, which mechanically I was still training too hard, and that was another driver. But how did this form in the first place when I'm someone so healthy and conscious of my form, technique, and obviously overtraining came to it. But I think that there's been an underlying gut issue that drove that further and caused a joint degeneration. And interestingly, my initial drive to get on top of my nutrition was a skin condition when I was 17. That's what drove me. And another thing was that my grandmother suffered awful arthritic conditions, which, now thinking back, rheumatoid arthritis and all these osteoarthritic conditions that she was suffering from are related to gut permeability and health. So it was just a big driver for me to say, I want to get healthier. And that made me make the decision to never have gluten again. And then just slowly weed through everything and figure out, well, what's the best nutrition protocol for me? So now my basic recommendation for people is 2 good meals a day, fast for 14 to 18 hours a day, and then have that 10 to 6 hour feeding window. Sit down, relax with your family, enjoy. We've got the luxury now to do it. It's not,
yes, we do.
It's an opportunity to do that and really connect with every mouthful. Then get to bed on time, get your 7 to 9 hours every night. That's great. Get your training in every day. And in terms of the food choices, just do what works for you. But I find it's classic. The meat and 3 veg thing is just so simple, practical, and just a little bit of fruit. For most people, that's just going to work so well if people just got onto that and just got away from all the processed, refined, packaged foods and just enjoyed getting in the kitchen and cooking amazing food for the family and, using good quality salt so it tastes amazing. Use good herbs from your garden. Start growing some herbs, connect with that, and then purchase your food from good growers so you got good produce. And now we can get online. We can find a way. If you've got the desire, do it. And people say, I can't get this, I can't get that. Okay, just start with meat and vegetables from the supermarket and just gradually refine it, improve it, and make your lifestyle better. Get outside once a day, go for a nice walk, get some sunshine if it's out. Never get burnt, and just enjoy and just take the time to learn something new so that you can be of service. And that's what I thought about for myself. Okay, my business is, dropped off. I've got maybe a quarter of the clients that I'd normally have. Meriton's not easing up on the rent at this point, so that's all just, stressful financially. But the most important thing for all of us is how can I be of service?
Yeah.
And if you're of service to other people, the money will come. Because people are benefiting from what you're offering. And if you're doing a good job, then it's going to come back to you. And that's how we help support one another. And I saw a sign the other day, and I thought this is really important. It was because it's all this social distancing, but it's physical distancing, but social unity is what we need. And it's so important now more than ever. And if we can come together online like this, like you and me talking now, and inspire other people to do the same. It's not perfect, but we'll get through this and we'll make the world a better place. And we have this time now to reflect and say, was the way in which we lived before working for us? Was racing around, getting, being stressed out, traveling everywhere, doing all of this, trying to do too much, is it really benefiting us? But if we can rebuild the economy in a way where we are like this and we can do a lot more from home, and why not?
Yeah. Aaron, always such a pleasure. Always such a pleasure. And for the whole 14 years that we've known each other, and may there be many, many more years. And I'm going to so look forward every morning now, except Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
You're online at 9 o'clock.
Saturday, yeah.
Huh?
9 o'clock, Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday. And we're going to have links to that, and I'm going to look forward to. I've still got, I've got a pretty tatty Origin of Energy T-shirt, which I still wear in every workout.
That's awesome, man.
So I'm going to look forward to it. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks for the opportunity.
This podcast provides general information and discussion about medicine, health, and related subjects. The content is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice or as a substitute for care by a qualified medical practitioner. If you or any other person has a medical concern, he or she should consult with an appropriately qualified medical practitioner. Guests who speak in this podcast express their own opinions, experiences, and conclusions.